Hello friends, and welcome to my little homestead, Crybaby's Sentimental Homestead. And I'm going to do this video a little bit backwards because I am done. I'm done for the day, but I've taken a little bit of footage here and there as I went around the garden, and I found some volunteers. I found some plants that are kind of stashed away that I transplanted. I did a bunch of weeding off screen because that was a very messy two-handed ordeal. Lots of propagation. Visited some of the plants that were on the far side of the property. Ungirdled a few fruit trees or permaculture trees. So that's something you need to check on, is girdling. If you plant trees with their tags wrapped around the stem, you need to make sure that you come back periodically to make sure that it's loose enough. So I ungirdled two little permaculture trees I have off on the periphery of the property where I barely ever get. That's why I planted it like a food forest, is because I knew I wouldn't be able to get the hose over there very often. I wouldn't be able to weed there very often. And I needed it to be like a self-sustaining little pocket area that would look cool and still produce some food. Very happy with what's producing over there. Got a lot done despite being a little bit too warm. And I do want to kind of give you a little intro because I just jumped straight into just let's get to it, right? So let's go around, see what I got done, and I'll be back with you at the end. So I'm watering around here, and I was about to start weeding, and I noticed I have a volunteer. So you can see in here that there were some squash seeds, all kinds of seeds actually, that just kind of ended up over here. And I think it was from a pumpkin that rotted. I can't tell what this used to say. I don't know. Starts with a G. I was thinking maybe it was goji berries or something. I don't know. Something that got abandoned here. And the pot, you always water your pot because you got to keep your soil alive. But I got this volunteer. So I'm going to go ahead, put a little bit more soil because I see roots right here. I was actually trying to root into the other pot that was above it. But I'm definitely going to give it a nice drink because it was getting a little wilty. We'll see what this turns into. We'll see if it was worth, if it's worth letting it go. But I'm going to go ahead and let it grow and see what happens. Why not? I don't know what was in this pot, but nothing's really growing here. So I'm just going to reuse the soil. And then I had some yard clippings and stuff. This here is broken. Get rid of that. But that way it has some good cover, so the soil doesn't get dried out really fast. This stuff will continue to break down and kind of protect the plant a little bit. And there. So this one kind of fortuitously just popped up in this spot over here. Got these beautiful white roses tucked out here behind my little wild orchard. Wild roses, or roses gone wild. Look at this red love apple tree. Lots of fruit this year compared to last year. And I'm going to have to fence off this little area of my yard because people did come in here last year and picked everything except for like 2 of the apples. So I'm gonna have to put up a little fencing area to make it just crystal clear that that's not what I'm hoping for. So these apples have red flesh on the inside. Really cool. And they taste really delicious. Nothing like what you get in the supermarket. So this is just like this little side area of the property. And all of this stuff can be compost. All the spent flowers. I lost track of what this tree is, but if you note these thorns and what the leaves look like, and I found another tree that had the label. So I just spanned behind me this tree right here. Okay, it's getting watered now, but same kind of leaves and thorns. My guess was that it was going to be a black hawthorn, and when I dug down by the stem, it was starting to get girdled, so I took this off, and yes, it is a black hawthorn. And I got these from Burnt Ridge Nursery, and it is very healthy. Those thorns are something to be reckoned with, which is why I have it on the outside of my property. People who want to like run in here and start grabbing stuff, sadly, are going to be in for a not so fun surprise with these thorns, which is not why I grew them, but it's kind of a nice thing to have on the edge of the property as a way of just discouraging folks from coming in here and going crazy. Right next to it, I have a hazelnut tree, which, if I can beat the squirrels to it, is producing hazelnuts. And if I don't beat them, then I guess I gave them some food. I also have some kind of dogwood back here that is being kind of crowded out. But what I'm going to do later in the season is I'm going to propagate some of the lower branches of my hazelnut tree. And when I do that, that will open up space for this other plant underneath to get some more light. Okay, so that's my plan there. And then I'll plant more of those hazelnuts elsewhere. I believe that's a Turkish hazelnut, and it is quite tall now. It's doing really, really lovely. Behind that is a very wild cherry tree. Doesn't produce very good fruit for us, but the wildlife love it, so I'm going to leave it there. And then here I have Siberian pea shrub that I did plant with the hopes of making animal fodder. This is a very small seed pod. They're usually larger than this, but they're still pretty small. Like you can see here. Those are not going to probably do anything. But, yeah, so they're really high in protein. So my plan was originally to grow them to get my own chicken fodder. And I have another tree in the back that has also produced pods. Those tiny little seed pods have like nothing. They feel like they have seeds in them, but they don't. I have really left this area to its own wild culture over here. Another thing to keep in mind with these is that you should have a male and a female, and I'm sure these are getting some pollination because I had the other one in the back, which really isn't that far. It's just like not right next to it. So that's the Siberian pea shrub. It's a nitrogen fixer, which is definitely helping the plants around it by fixing nitrogen into the soil, which is excellent because you can see all the plants around it are just booming with life. So it's worth growing just as a natural way of fertilizing your soil. But I do want to get another plant over here in the near area so I can get some fertilized seed pods. So the one in the back, though, must not need much cross-pollination because it had much larger seed pods. I mean, I wouldn't call them large by any means, but they're much larger and they did have seeds inside of them. So maybe I'll do a grafting. Maybe I'll clone, take a little piece of scion wood from the other one and graft it onto this one, so then it can pollinate itself a little bit better. So you can see, like, this part of the tree is a lot healthier. It's been really dry over here in the front though, because I rarely come out here and water, because it's just, this is the area that I have a hard time reaching with a hose. Over here you can see there is a tiny little walnut tree growing. Got roses in the back, have rhodies, got some cornelian cherry right there. That's my cornelian cherry. Got some more in the back as well. That one was getting grilled too, so I moved the tag up the stem. Relieved a lot of the tension down the bottom part. So you don't want your trees to get girdled. So if you have a tag on them, you want to periodically check it and loosen it. Maybe even move it up to a branch instead of the stem, because it does get girdled, which will very much damage the tree. So you definitely don't want to get girdled. And I planted things very, very close together because my plan was to get in here and keep things really like tight and pruned and stuff. But things have gotten a little crazy. So I'm going to do some propagations in the fall. And I might try moving a few things, not very many things, but I want to take some propagations first in case I lose anything if I move it. Like in here, I planted very, very, very densely. It's fine, really, but I've got some holes like that. There's a big space in here that I could put some other plants, and that's my plan. Up there, behind that dense foliage, is a stump that woodpeckers live in, which is really cool. People do get kind of weird about this plant here. It's an autumn olive. By weird, I mean controversial. But I love this plant because it's so beautiful. So this particular specimen has a silvery underside of the leaf. I've got another one that's a golden, hence the name golden. But this one, it has like a silvery underside. And then if you look here, you can see that, well, maybe you can see, I can't see my phone screen at all. Okay, yes, you can. You can see that there are some fruits trying to set right there. So I'll get some fruit off of this tree this year. And it's kind of growing crazy. So I think I will, after I collect fruit off of it this year, I will be taking some cuttings and rooting them and everything, and moving some, and maybe try to get this under a little bit more under control. But it does look really cool. Up here, this is a rugosa rose, which are the ones that have the big, nice hips. Big hips like me. Just kidding. Yes. But underneath here, this rose usually would be really like low to the ground for me. But because of this plant kind of falling over on top of it, it's had to reach up in between for sunlight. So when it cools down in the fall, like I said, I'm going to take some cuttings of this autumn olive because I'm loving it, and I'm going to propagate it elsewhere on the property and kind of give this a little bit more space, like prop this up somehow and give this a little bit more airflow in here for my roses, because these roses are very, very happy. Look how beautiful and green that is. Of all the rose types, a lot of them get diseased, but rugosa rose, which is the one with the nice big giant hips, the flowers are like not showstoppers, but the hips are loaded with vitamin C, and these plants just seem to be much more resistant to disease and much healthier. While I was back here watering, I came across the yellow scallop squash that I was watering back here, and it looks really good. And I had this pot which I was trying to grow roselle in, and it withered and died, didn't do very well. So I'm going to go ahead and put the squash in there. So I just dug down a little bit, and I can see this will be the right level. I'm going to go ahead and pop it out and then fill it back in and water it. So this is not in an ideal place, but I know we're not going to get to this area to the end of summer. And so I'm going to go ahead and let it go right here. Because if I wait till I find the right space, I'm never going to get to it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's right here, right now. Let's get something growing. Get something in the soil where it can really go to its best and not be so stunted. So this is probably going to give us lots of food, because those scallop squashes are just so excellent in this area. They produce such a good crop. Most people would consider this a weed, but this is actually called Purslane, and it is an edible green. I'll take a leaf off of it. So you can kind of see it's kind of shimmery on their bottom here. They're not usually this big, but this one had a lot of nutrients. So they grow in disturbed areas, so they can grow really small. They'll take advantage of any disturbed ground, and they don't even care how good the soil is. Don't mind the crazy hair. I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste. That's great. Honestly, I wouldn't even put it in a salad. I just eat it raw out of the garden. That is Purslane. Be careful not to to mix it up with the other ones, but the other types of plants that get mistaken for it actually are not succulent. They are really dry and brittle and totally different plant. I don't think it's easy to confuse with other plants, but some people do. But I'll go back to the plant and show it to you again, what it looks like. It's called Purslane. It can grow wild, but you can also buy seeds for it. There are cultivated varieties that grow more upright and more bushy, so you get more from them. But you can definitely have the ones from your garden that are just growing as weeds. If I get little seed pods, they'll just explode and kind of go everywhere. I let them do their thing, but if I catch a bunch of seed pods, I will sprinkle it around my plants. Makes a good like ground cover, and then you can eat it. So let's go back and show you that again. It's really good with omega-3 fatty acids, which is great for your brain. So if you're looking at the plant, you can see it has a really succulent kind of pinkish brown stem, which is very succulent. The leaves, I think, are kind of tear-shaped, right? Very narrow towards the stem and kind of rounded outwards. This one looks almost heart-shaped, but that's, I mean, it kind of goes in, dips in a little bit right here. They taste kind of lemony, and it's succulent, and it kind of sparkles underneath the leaf. Look at some more videos of Purslane, and this is what they look like. Whoops, the shadow's getting me there. This is what they look like when they're first sprouting, so you don't get rid of them, okay? But there's seeds all over in here, and I definitely like to eat those. They're great apparently with eggs, and my husband's Hispanic, and they love to have, there's an egg dish that he likes to have in his family, and it's definitely very edible. It's so beautiful and delicious. This is my first year really doing great with basil. I don't know what the deal is, but the basil is going really, really well. I have it in several different places. I've just bought like a little pack, one little pot that had tons of little sprouts in there, and I transplanted them, and I've just got tons of basil everywhere. The Rose of Sharon is doing so much better since I transplanted it, and these little watering systems are doing really nice. Even this one here I got from Temu. Lots of flowers. I'm kind of surprised by how long they're flowering. I'm just really pleased. Been doing a good job of watering out here, and wow, so much new growth. There's a little walnut tree right there. Cute. And this is a lilac. I'm gonna have tomatoes. Yay! These are the thornless. I'm not sure if they're Arapaho or Navajo, but they're blackberries, and they're not the invasive type. So they are doing really well now. I think I'm gonna get a good crop from those. So I am gonna do a new one since this one got chewed up. I might save this and see if I can figure out something to do with it later. But I'm always so inspired by other channels. There's one in particular that likes to make a lot of solar fountains. Comment below what channel that is. I like to give them a little shout out, but I mention them a lot in my videos, so do a little comment below. What channel do I watch a lot where they make lots of bird baths or bird fountains? And I'm going to go ahead and do another one of those since this one got chewed on by squirrels, and yeah, the birds are thirsty. But getting some succulents and some ruta or rue, and those are going well. I've actually sold a couple of these. Yeah, pretty nice. Little pocket change, make up for all the money I spent on my garden. But it's going really well. I need to keep some of them and plant them because my mother plant is not doing so hot. But I've got all these baby plants, and you can see the roots coming out from underneath, so they're very healthy. It's really exciting. On this area here, I'm going to just use an S-hook to pull that up. And at first I was only going to do a really small S-hook, but now that the fruit is getting heavier and heavier, the foliage and the fruit is pulling it down, so I'm going to have to do one of the longer ones. I might even have to like double it. And after I harvest the fruit here, I'm actually going to propagate a lot of this extra vine. I know it's a great producer. I know I like the fruit. So I'm going to propagate it and move it elsewhere. I might actually, if I get some to root and everything, I might actually come back on over to this side and put some down here. And then maybe next year have some protection to keep it from getting so crispy. I do water over here just as much as I do on the other side, but this side here takes a lot more direct sun. So that's what I think is happening. And on this side here, it gets a little bit of shade. And it's making its own shade now, which I'm really loving. So yesterday, I showed you the footage earlier, but yesterday I planted this. Well, I didn't plant it, it was already in here, but I just put some more soil and some compost, and I watered it, and look how good that looks now. So you saw it earlier in the footage. That was actually yesterday, and now today, look how nice it is. And the bird just did a little poo-poo right there. But otherwise, look at that, so healthy. It's perked up. I don't know what that is, okay? These here are snapdragons I rescued from the clearance rack. And so those, they didn't look great when I got them, but I love them. I have a new love for snapdragons. They're just so pretty. I love it. And then here, I don't think I got this on film. I went ahead and this was just like an empty pot, halfway full of soil, nothing growing in it. So I just combined a bunch of other soil into here. And this right here is a spooky pumpkin that I planted from seed, but it was in a little container. I've got some more. I still need to transplant different types of squash. That will be another day. But that's going to take off. I just know it will. Right here, I'm collecting a lot of chop and drop. Those are rhubarb leaves and carnation spent flowers. I'm too tired, but I am going to go around and collect more of these flowers and either just like chop and drop in place or put them in this container. And then I'm going to fill this up and I'm going to plant a squash in it. So that will be later, but I'm just too tired. There's some purple coneflower or echinacea. Aren't those? Here's another echinacea that I have in a pot, inside of another pot, because if it starts to wilt from the sun, I can move it. But right now it's doing okay. So this is a sunny position and I don't want my flowers to always die. So my idea is to just transfer out this container inside whenever the plant looks like it's not doing so great. So I'm thinking, sorry for all the noise, I'm thinking these are canna. So my husband got these from somebody he works for who didn't want it because it looked like it was an empty pot, and the person wasn't excited about waiting for it to do something. And I'm like, just put it out here, I'll keep watering it, and then you know it's going to come back. So it looks beautiful, totally beautiful. And then here are my lilies, and they smell so pretty. I'm going to take a sniff. Love those. I just love these lilies. They started blooming yesterday. Didn't get a chance to get a picture of them, so I wanted to make sure I included that this time. And again, I'm going to use that tray. I think I'm going to use that tray to make a water system for the birds. So this was the solar light that I used the solar panel I used last year for the bird watering system. But look, I think something chewed this off. So this is kaput. I might save it and see if I can do something sciencey with it later. But I'm going to do a new panel and that I already have. I bought a couple when I bought this one. And I'm going to do a new water. Oh, I bought that for $5 at a church yard sale. And I'm using it to sit on. I can just pull it where I want to and sit on it. And I'm going to fill it up with all my gardening supplies. So I know it's supposed to be a cooler. It's probably worth more that way. But it has some stains on the inside that I'm pretty sure I cannot get out. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to just upcycle it for $5. You know, go Seahawks. And I can sit on it. And it doesn't feel like it has any give to it. Like, it's nice and strong. I can move it where I want to. And it's really comfortable. It lets me lean forward, whereas my other chairs kind of like lean back like you're going to take a nap and relax. This lets me lean forward so I can get some work done. And it was $5. So if you're thrifty and you like to go to yard sales and that kind of stuff, a lot of things like this, like I actually have things I got at the church yard sale, like some yarn and a little Nerf gun for my son. But this, and I actually did get some gardening tools. So I totally, it was only supposed to be $16 for all the stuff I got here, but I rounded up to 20 since it was for a good cause. But I got these cool old-fashioned gardening tools and this, plus the yarn and Nerf gun for 20 bucks. And that right there, honestly, it's going to save my back. So I'm looking forward to using that. I've already used it a little bit today as I was transplanting. Rarely will I figure out where to put them. I'm just going to put them right here so I don't forget what they are. But aren't those charming? I basically got them for free for how cheap everything else was. I hope you enjoyed going around with me. My front yard garden, it's gotten kind of chaotic, just busy, you know, life is busy. So no excuses. That's one of the reasons why it's kind of nice to have what some people call a lazy garden, but it's like a food forest. It can take care of itself. And that's really great, especially for people who are very busy, like I am, being a mother of 3 and future grandmother. Yes, I'm going to be a grandma. And being a teacher, teaching summer school, doing all kinds of extra side job kind of things. So I stay really busy. And so I need my garden to keep up with me. And honestly, the garden outdoes me all the time. I'm constantly seeing things growing that I didn't anticipate, which is such a delight and a nice surprise. So I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see the grapes. So cool. See here, oh my gosh, there are grapes. I'm gonna have more grapes this year than I've ever had. And now right now they look like they're green grapes, but they're actually a very dark blue purple variety. And I've got more than one vine. So I've got, like, on this side of the trellis, I've got one vine that's doing really great. On this side, where it's taking the direct heat, it's not doing as great. I had that little tray out for the birds, but I was catching too many insects in it, so I'm going to turn that into a solar fountain. So if you want to see that, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll come back and show that later. This particular grape is still alive. It is still alive, okay? Follow it up. It's alive, but it's not doing nearly as well as the other one. It is producing some fruit as I span over here. This is a columnar apple tree. It's kind of spanning over here to the columnar apple. I'm going to probably do a little bit of finessing this space here. I seriously could make probably a 2-hour video, but it's there's a lot of off-camera work that you guys don't see that's really tiring. It's a lot of fun. I honestly needed it today. Was having a hard time getting motivated and going and stuff. I thought, you know what, just go outside, spend 5 minutes outside, and you're going to get into a roll. Get on a roll. And I did. So as soon as I got outside, it took me maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I really felt myself coming back to life and getting some stuff done around the garden. Hopefully you enjoyed coming around the garden with me. Saw maybe a few plants maybe that you possibly haven't seen before. Gonna try to feature more of the unusual plants and also let you know what's going really well in the garden, because I tried so many different things, and there are certain things that are worth growing, some that are kind of fun as an experiment, but if you're trying to get a food forest growing on, there are some that really do perfect in Washington, like the grapes and the apples. Those are the best. Grapes and apples and summer squash are probably the top 3. If you can think of any of others that are really amazing, go ahead and comment below, and I'll see you next time. Remember, be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat.